Love that hedgehog. Gotta go fast.
I don't know anything about that hedgehog, and I just don't care.
He's fast.
The only thing I think I know is that they are like refilming or like redoing a bunch of the movie because people hated
Just
how
his
he looked.
Yeah, just his effects.
He looked nasty. He looked like a little human boy trapped inside of a weird suit. And everyone was like, no, I hate this.
Yeah, I do think, though, that like them being like, okay, fans, we'll do what you want, like is just not good.
Yeah, it's not a great cave. But what are you going to do?
With Sonic,
when you have a Sonic movie that already isn't going to do well, I
feel like if they hadn't said we'll do it because of the fans, if they're like, we just have to do some reshoots, and then it came out and he looked different, it'd be like fine.
Yeah, it's probably
But like
true.
if they're like, fans,
now
we'll
fans
obey your every whim.
Be pissed about anything they don't like.
You don't want a woman to be in your superhero movie? Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, it's not that.
It wasn't that Sonic was a woman. And then they were like,
oh,
change
God.
the gender.
What if they change it and he's a lady?
Hey, why not?
I would love it.
Like, all right, cool. So
you
Daisy
like
Ridley is going to be Sonic.
Yeah, right. Just as
and just
live
her.
action.
It's live
not
action.
dressed as
but
Sonic.
She's so fast. Welcome to my house. I'm a small snail, and you've crawled into my shell.
Okay, welcome to the Hypotheticast. This is going to be a Microtheticast.
Yes, and I'm Mike,
and I'm David.
So that's Mike and David, and I'm Emily, and it's time to record this little baby.
Yeah, it's time.
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Well, we get a lot of submissions on our Hypotheticast fan collaboratory. People just share random stuff that they think is interesting. This week, we want to talk about something that was submitted to us from Hypotheticast superfan Lori Castile. And it comes from Twitter. We didn't trace it as far back as who knows where things come from on the internet. Yeah. But it was tweeted from Rob Perez at Worldwide Wob. And there's a premise here that we thought we would discuss for this Microtheticast. Yeah. It's not something that we thought would fit into the theme of one of our larger episodes. So we thought, hey, let's just talk about it and we'll just see what happens when we discuss it here on the Microtheticast. So here's what it is. You can have $10 million right now in your hand, but there's a catch. A snail is chasing you for the rest of your life, and if it touches you, you die a terrible death.
I die.
The snail cannot be killed. It knows your location at all times. Its only purpose is to find you. Mm-hmm. You taking the money?
I mean, the answer is yes. 100%.
All right,
Easy.
Microtheticast over.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This one was the one where just David answers it, and see you later.
Can I add a quick addendum to this? Because in the discussion after this, people were saying that they want to like launch the snail into space and stuff. And I want to cut that off right now, because that to me is like a wishing for more wishes scenario. Yeah. Like you can't just get rid of the snail and throw him into space, even though you can't kill him. I think he's got to be on whatever planet you're on. If you want to go hide out on the moon, like he can come to the moon.
There's some sort of mystical field maybe surrounding the snail. It just means you can't really do much.
Yeah.
So
I want to hear your strategies for snail avoidance, but I don't want you to just say you're going to launch the snail into space, because that just seems like a cop-out.
Because I launch myself into space.
Snail can come get you in the space space jet. It can fly.
Well, snails can survive in space probably.
Uh-huh. They're like tardigrades.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem like aliens. Yep.
So would this be considered cheating? I was thinking about having some sort of, I hire someone to
snail watcher.
Yeah, I hire a snail watcher, which like $10 million.
You could afford a pretty good snail watcher.
Yeah, I feel like I could I would obviously, the first thing I would do is go to a financial planner.
Wow, yes, so responsible.
The content we crave. Tell me
because
more.
what I will, yes, I mean, just in general, I would want to be responsible about it. Though. But a big part of that would be, how can I make sure that I always have enough money to pay a reasonable salary to someone, and what this person's job would be is and it would have to be like well paid enough to make this enticing, but also a part of the job would be like you get to travel all over the world with this snail, but you always have to be someplace that I'm not.
Yes. Oh my God.
So are you saying that they would like have the snail in a carrying case they would keep with them?
So I don't think it would be, it feels like cheating to just be like, oh, the snail's in a jar all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like
then it can't touch you.
I feel like, let's say it has a like acidic mucus that it can burn out of. If you try to contain it, it gets away. Like
it'll get out no matter what.
It can be observed.
There's not even any way for someone else to transport the snail someplace? If someone else could get it to like Asia.
They couldn't just hold it.
Yeah.
Like you can't just put it in a cage.
No, that's fine. But if there's a way that someone could get it to Asia and wouldn't keep it contained, but they would like track it. That's
How would
their
they
job.
track it?
By being next to it all the time.
Yeah.
They would just always be next to it?
They just have to be next to it. Or like, the snail can't go that fast. So if the snail watcher would like to go get a meal for an hour, that snail's not going to get to Emily in an hour.
What if it hides?
So then it can go. I mean, that's part of their job.
What if they lose track of it?
They could put a little GPS tag on that snail.
That was the other thing that I was thinking
is,
is, can you put something on it that tracks it?
Yeah.
And in that case, I wouldn't even necessarily need it to get shipped to Asia, but I would need to still have the person whose job it is to make sure the tracking implement is working correctly and check up on it, and just like general awareness of where snail is, because again, it's not fast and the world is huge.
Right.
So those are the two elements that are making this like appealing and feel possible to me, is that it's never going to get powers to be suddenly fast. So even if the snail can know where I am at all times and it's always trying to make its way, speed is on my side.
Definitely. You got planes. You got $10 million.
Yeah. So I think that would be the goal. And if the snail was somehow impossible to transport.
Which I feel like maybe is a fair rule.
That is fair.
Just because otherwise you could pay that person to just like follow it and then just like transport it back, and then you could just live in your house.
Let's say this. Yeah, let's say if you try to transport that snail, if you try to alter its path, you will die a terrible death too. So you can't. Let's say that, because right now I think you've established a pretty good scenario.
Yeah, that seems pretty easy.
Like if you could just move it whenever it's close to you, like or just pay someone, because you could even pay someone $100. Like, hey, can you just take this snail away?
Just
but I'm not even talking about that.
Snail.
So let's if we get rid of the transportation thing, but we are still able to have tracking of some kind.
Yeah.
So then there's probably going to be a few times where the snail gets to my house, but then I just go on a trip.
Yeah.
So then the snail is like, oh, they left. So now I have to start making my way
to where you went
to where I went on the trip, and I just stay there long enough to get the snail to move far enough away from my house.
Right.
And then I go back to my house and the snail has to turn around again.
Here's my question. I think first, Mike, could you read the whole premise one more time?
Yeah, I can.
Also, because there's a lot of details here that we need to flesh out.
Trips.
Yeah, that sounds fun though.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think that's part of your
Flying
budget.
Isn't even that expensive.
Yeah, I know it does have to be a part of my budget, which is why I would go to that financial planner, because I'm a responsible bitch.
But even $1 million will fly you around for years.
Yeah, and if you invest
exactly,
$9 million,
exactly,
you will be just fine.
Okay. From Rob Perez at Worldwide Wob.
Yep.
You got $10 million. The snail is chasing you for the rest of your life. If it touches you, you die a terrible death.
Nice.
Snail cannot be killed. It knows your location at all times. Its only purpose is to find you. You're going to take the money. And I think it's fair to say, if anyone tries to alter the snail's path with the intention of keeping it away from you, they will also die.
It knows if
I don't
you
think a
have
random person.
Sure.
It wouldn't be fair if you had a snail that just killed all the people it touched. That seems unfair.
Yeah.
But if
that's
you
brutal.
have a person that's trying to get the snail away from you, the snail knows.
It knows. Yeah. This
and
magic
it gets
snail
you.
knows.
Yeah.
So the snail cannot be killed. It won't die of old age.
No, never going to die.
And what I'm curious about is, first of all, I think the snail might actually be one of those cool, it can latch onto people and be like a parasite. So I think the opposite of what Emily thinks. I think that's how the snail gets places. It attaches to you and controls. It takes over your brain.
Makes them submit to your will.
And it's you want to go to Africa, and they're like, oh shit, maybe I should go into Africa. And then they go, and then the snail gets off their body and is closer now.
So
I think that's something that I would do.
people.
The question was, what would you do if you were that snail, right? Because that's what I would do.
Yeah, the question is, a role play is that snail using only snail sounds. Tell me what you would be like.
How's that sound?
How do snails communicate? Is it smell?
No, with their voices.
They don't have voices.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do they communicate to each other?
I think by touching.
By mucus?
Mucus trails.
Mucus trails. Maybe, actually. There's a good chance of that. Bees do, so maybe snails do.
Bees dance.
Do it, snails do it. Let's do it. Let's communicate by mucus trails.
Bees communicate by dancing.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I just make this harder?
Yeah.
And we can go...
Sure.
Let me just do this. I think this will be interesting. What if it was invisible?
Oh, no.
What if you couldn't see it?
But it moves at the speed of a snail.
Yeah.
But you can't see it. So you have to just can you know where it... So I've played a lot of investigative board games where you know where something is initially, but then you have to count turns.
Let's say this. So whoever's giving you this money, they have the snail and you can see it.
And you know where it starts.
And they're like, oh you get an hour head start. They're like, here's the snail.
Yeah, I love this.
And then you see them turn the snail invisible. And then they're like, okay, you got to go. I'm going to release it in an hour.
Oh my God.
And that's it.
And then for the rest of the time, it's invisible?
The rest of your life, it's invisible.
Okay, so that basically, in that scenario, you're on the run. You can try to make smart choices, but ultimately it's just up to chance at that point, and you're going to be killed by it someday.
Well, there's other things you could do to try to keep the snail from getting you.
How? What?
Can the snail get through a wall?
No, it's not a ghost.
So just stay inside.
It could go through your door, though.
If you open it, that's true. It could just wait right by the door until you open it.
Yeah.
And then, it gets you with its little hand.
Yeah, but I don't want to live in I don't want to have to stay indoors for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I think
the option. You just have to go fast.
I think the option of traveling every so often is the right one, and we need to do some math. It's the math portion of the Hypotheticast.
I looked up how fast snails go.
I did too. 0.029 miles per hour.
Yes, that's what I found
too. The average
too.
speed of a garden snail. I'm sure they can go slower and faster, but apologies to all the snail enthusiasts and snail listeners that we have. That is what we're going to use as our number. Let's imagine that you start in Minneapolis and this person says, invisible snail, here it is, and now it's going away. You have 1 hour, and you can get on a flight or whatever.
Yeah.
You could drive much faster than 0.029 miles per hour. So even if you drove somewhere that was 5 miles away, how long would it take that snail?
Yeah, but here's my argument.
So
you could
long.
initially get away, for sure. And I mean, probably the safest thing to do would just be to go fly to a different country and live there for years.
Yes.
And calculate how long the snail would take to get there and then leave.
Unless it gets on a car.
But that's the thing. It could get on a car. It could get on a plane, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is if all you get in the beginning is one piece of data, which is it's here right now, eventually my thinking is that, you make your first getaway. And then eventually you're like, okay, I better move again, because they, might be catching up. And then eventually you think, okay, I got to move again. Blah, blah, blah. You do that over and over again. But the problem is, since the first time you knew where they were, you have no idea what routes and how they... So basically, one day, you are going to make a miscalculation or a misstep and end up somewhere that's actually closer to where the snail is than you thought it would be, and they will get you.
Snails are pretty friggin' slow.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
You don't think that would necessarily happen?
I think you could do that into your actual lifespan.
The chance of you landing somewhere close to that snail and having it be scary close is so small because they go 0.029 miles per hour. That means it takes them 40 hours to go a mile.
But here's the thing. Are you just not...
That is amazing.
Are you just not living any place then?
I guess.
Because that's the thing. I want to put down roots and I want to live someplace.
Okay, so let's say you go 800 miles away. That takes them 32,000 hours.
But David, you're leaving out the possibility that it hops on a truck.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm talking about.
It could just crawl onto
isn't a steady
truck.
Speed. That's true. It can accelerate because
we're going to say the snail, it knows where you are at all times. It has... Let's say that's more of an instinct, but also some smart animals, it has a way of accomplishing this goal. It can be okay, I know I'm not that fast, but there's other things that are fast, so I can get on those things,
Yep.
So
it's like how dogs build vehicles.
And that's why I feel if it had the ability to get on a plane, what if it has a connecting flight somewhere?
Yeah.
That might not be in a direct route to the last place you were.
Sure.
I just
You'd
feel
want to live in the country, probably.
What's that?
You'd want to live in the country.
Why?
Away from urban centers.
Sure,
because
so that there are
decreases the chance that the snail can hitch a car that's coincidentally going to where you live.
Yeah, live in the woods.
Even an island would be even better, probably.
Yeah.
Because there are even less things that are going to go to a private island.
That's
ever.
actually okay. So actually, that's the first thing. That's if you live on an island, you have to still move a certain amount of time. But that feels like more likely that you could live a normal amount.
There would always be that small tingle in the back of your neck, like, is the snail here?
I know.
Yeah, because it could be so close.
It reminds me of one of my favorite
time.
cartoons I've ever seen, just from Michael Kupperman. Shout out to him. It's called Cytobor, the Invisible Silent Robot. And it's literally one panel. It's like an old man and a lady. There's a caption. It says Cytobor was his adventures were mostly people wondering whether he was in the room or not, and then the lady's just saying, "Do you think Cytobor is in this room right now?" And that's the whole cartoon.
It's really good. Yeah, you would feel that with the snail.
You would never know. You'd always be like, "Is he near?" Even if you're like, by all accounts, he should be on a different continent, but.
Can anybody else see? Is it just invisible to you, or is it invisible to all?
Well, the reason we made him invisible because your thought of hiring a snail watcher is a very good one.
Very good.
Because then they could always
guys.
just. You're welcome.
It is.
Good
It's a great idea.
And that's why I think we had to change it because that's a very good solution to like if you always know where the snail is. And the snail watcher can tell you.
I just am so tempted to figure out some sort of teamwork situation. The next place my brain went was like fame. How could I like make this a worldwide participatory game?
Your fame or the
what if somehow everybody can? But this would have to be everybody else would have to be able to see the snail.
Yeah.
So if I'm not able to actually like have one snail watcher, let's say the snail is too good at hiding and stuff, and no person can live their lives normally without losing track of the snail, even though it's really slow. But then there could be like this worldwide everlasting game show that the whole world can participate in.
Find the
snail and you can report it. So there's like a website where people can be like,
Pokemon Go, basically.
I saw the snail and here's where it was great. And here's a pic and stuff. Yeah. And then I'm like the famous snail lady, and then I am just like checking the website and people can like tweet at me and stuff.
Seems
and
great.
I mean there probably would be backlash, and so someone probably like there'd be like a team that would try to like lead me to the snail.
Oh no.
So maybe the internet is just too, you can't trust it.
Let's say this. Not everyone else can't see the snail, but it follows like a certain ghost rule where like you can throw like talcum powder on it or flour and see it, but then it secretes a mucus that like adapts to that to make itself invisible to that substance.
So you only get each substance
People can
once.
throw different stuff around to find the snail, but then it will resist it and become invisible. So so you could have people running around throwing stuff on the ground to try to find the invisible snail.
I'm going to say I don't know how many people would participate in that, considering the chances that it would be not fruitful.
But you could offer them, like, if you offer $1 million, like, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
I guess, but okay. So let's say let's make a meta or hypothetical question.
Okay.
You hear on the news about someone who's looking for an invisible snail that's somewhere in this world.
Here's the deal,
and they'll give you $1 million if you can find it by putting substances out into the world and seeing if it sticks to it for a bit.
But it's not quite as open-ended as somewhere in the world, because you want people to find that snail. So you would say, I know the snail was here and I moved here, and we're going to say that snail moves in like a direct path towards you.
Yeah, it sounds
so
like
it's not going to like take like a road. It's going to go
but
like
what if it gets
straight.
what if it hitches on a car? Or a plane.
Yeah.
Well, but I think what you could do is calculate the path of least resistance. Like you could be like, I think the snail probably is here now. And so then people in that town or country or area could be like, all right, time to get a bag of flour and start throwing it on the ground.
I would still probably hire someone to do all those calculations and stuff.
Well, that's fine. But I guess like for the game show to work, they have to be able to see the snail somehow.
I know. So that's the problem.
Here's what I think.
What do you think,
what you
David?
do. You've seen Home Alone, right?
Once or twice.
Yeah. So I think you need to set up a Home Alone-like perimeter around your house, like a mile out, or even a half mile, even a quarter mile.
You get some cardboard cutouts, put them on a train. That snail. Oh, she's having a party. I don't want to bother her right now.
Oh, no, there's people.
Michael Jordan's over.
She's got company.
I'm not going to go in there.
Snails are very polite.
Yeah.
It says that in the question, Rob Perez. The snail is polite and will respect your company.
Basic etiquette rules apply.
Yep. The snail knows the fork goes on the left. So what you should do is put up a big perimeter that drops, as Mike declared the ghost rule, and I think this enables you to have some sort of technological advantage.
Yeah.
The ghost rule where every substance one time will reveal that snail is there.
Yeah.
You set up a ton of cameras in a big perimeter half mile outside your house, and it's constantly raining a slight shower of flour, like a mist, but flour, so that you'll be able to tell if that snail comes through on a camera, and you can program them or whatever to like detect snail shape. That way, even if it's a half mile out, it's going to take 20 hours for that snail to get to you after it gets hit by that powder.
Sure.
So you've got so much time to plan where you want to move next and set up another one of those. It's going to be expensive.
I was just going to say, I feel like that would eat into that $10 million, especially if you want like state of the art, like cameras and substance misters. And
it's expensive. You might have to invent those things.
Right.
Pay James Cameron to invent those.
But the amount of times that it might even happen is pretty low, because the snail has as we know it, already a very low chance of actually getting to you ever.
Yeah, I would still be afraid of going out into the world, though.
Yeah, and that's fair. But you have a mile at least of like.
So I just like ask all the things that I want to be within a mile of me.
You have a lot of money. It might the trade-off is, and if I'm doing this, the trade-off is: do I want to live in fear and live a rich, fun life and travel around a lot, just because the likelihood that the snail can follow me is pretty low?
But always have that tingle.
But always have the tingle of like, maybe I'll accidentally go to the same restaurant the snail's eating at and it'll get me. Like
it does have to stop for food.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it has a food budget.
Or set up like defenses and live in that kind of fear and not be able to live my life to the fullest, because I'm going to die anyway.
Probably.
The chance that the snail gets me is probably lower than the chance I just die in the next 50 years. So I'm just going to risk that. And I'm just going to travel and enjoy and invest and give my friends money and like live my best life and make sure that I'm like I'll either do or pay someone to do the calculations for like the stats on how often and how far I need to travel to avoid the snail. And I'll just do that. And the likelihood that the snail gets me is so infinitesimally low that I don't care.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's kind of like people who live knowing that like the genetics are kind of stacked against them in some ways, and like they're probably going to get cancer.
Yeah.
But like
what are you going to do? Not go outside?
Yeah. You live your life the best you can. And in fact, people in those situations are probably living their lives even like more purposefully than those of us that are like, I'm probably going to live to be 150, right?
Yeah.
Guys, I think I figured it out.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So here's the scenario. Let me paint you a picture here. The snail thinks it's onto me. Comes into my big old mansion.
Oh, it got
creeps
there.
up the stairs. Creeps into my bedroom. Sees me sleeping in bed. Goes up.
Oh, this is getting
pulls
into
the covers back.
Ooh.
It's a sack of potatoes.
Oh no.
I'm sleeping under the bed. Figured it out, guys. Never sleeping in that actual bed. It's going to get tricked every time.
That is one of my questions about the snail.
Yeah.
Is one of the details that really does need to be fleshed out about this scenario. How does the snail know where you are? Is it a good computer user? Does it check into your Facebook every now and then?
I think it's like an animalistic
It's
scent.
an animalistic sense, so that it wouldn't...
Yeah.
He wouldn't care about those potatoes.
No, I rub those potatoes all over my body, David. They've got my scent all over them.
Released all scents from your body. Yes, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe you put like deer hunting scents or something.
Thanks, guys. I thought about that for a long time.
And you make potatoes smell like you, but still sleep dangerously close.
I want to stay in the mansion I bought with all my money.
Why not buy two mansions? Have one with the potato sack in it and one with you in it, where you can live your life and not worry about the snail accidentally coming under the bed.
Or even just like a different room in the mansion.
Like
guys,
so close.
Guys, I thought mine out, okay? Stop taking my idea and making it better.
It's a sack of potatoes. I thought it out. Hey, the sack solution's good. I'm not shitting on it. It does seem like it counts on the snail having a very particular triangulatory sense, which is
it works every time for most things.
In movies.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd have a little tape recorder playing messages saying, I'm tired.
Yeah, things that I say while I'm sleeping.
While you're sleeping.
I'm sleeping currently. Don't worry. I'm so vulnerable. Good thing that it's only me in this room.
Don't look under the bed.
No, there's no tricks being played here. So that way it would never suspect.
It's foolproof is the thing about that one. It's too good.
I think so.
It's
Why
just
potatoes?
like Emily's Watcher.
Because that's the easy thing to get in a sack. Like if you think of a sack, think of an empty sack.
Okay,
think of something inside that sack.
Ooh, this is nice. This is fun. It's a basketball.
Potatoes.
Boom.
Oh, see, I said a basketball.
Okay,
Why is mine
that
bad?
says something interesting about you, David.
Yeah, I love basketball.
Yeah, I'm normal because I thought of potatoes.
It says that you're going to die within a year.
I'm normal. Neurodivergence is good for the world. Basketball sack.
Well, I think we provided a lot of good...
I think we solved it on multiple fronts because we solved it and then had to make it harder and then solved it again and had to make it harder and still realized that it would be better to just get away from that snail and live your life.
Or rub potatoes all over your bod.
Which is something you should probably do anyway, just as like a contingency plan.
I sleep a sack of potatoes
is in my bed every night. I think you can go and get a potato bath.
A potato bath.
Spud rub.
Ooh, that's good.
Spud rub.
Spud rub sounds like a baseball player from the 1920s. Next up, it's Spud Rub. He's going to smack one out of the park.
He was also one of the Little Rascals.
Spud Rub, Hot, and Dog Pie. My 3 favorites.
The main message that we wanted to convey to our listeners with this is
yes,
live your life, baby.
Because the
snail's coming for you no matter what you do.
Yeah, guess what? Twist ending. That snail is death. And death takes us all in the end. So dance like no one's watching.
Yeah. Dance like that snail can see.
Yeah. Who
dance
cares
for the snail.
Okay.
Dance for the snail and because of it and with it.
Yes, with it maybe. Why not?
You
Snails and taxes, baby.
Yeah.
Snails and taxes.
If you really were inspired by that and you want more or you want to give us a journey that we can go on one of these little apps, go to Facebook. We're at Hypotheticast. Or our fan collaboratory, which is the Hypotheticast fan collaboratory. That's what it's called. You can find us on Twitter at Hypotheticast, on Instagram at Hypotheticast_IG. You could email us, hypotheticast@gmail.com, or go to our website, hypotheticast.club.
We also love to get reviews from you. Post them on iTunes or any podcast app you can leave a review on. We also love it when you tell your friends about us. So tell your friends about us.
Yeah, do it because we love it. Thank you to Jane James and The Hunger, who do it because they love it, for giving us our theme song, Killing It, from their album Raw. Thank you to Christian Hagen, who does it because of obligation, for doing our logo. And we really appreciate that, too. Thank you for listening as well. It's great that you do, and it's great for you, and it's great for us. Everybody wins. Thank you. And this is it. Goodbye. Until next week.
Don't say it like that. The snail's here. We're all going to die now.
I see
He's knocking at the door.
I'm marching, I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I'm killing it.
I think that was really inspiring.
The speed at which a snail travels is amazingly slow. Whew.
What do you think's going on in their minds?
I must kill Mike. I hope he's not potatoes this time.